Hey guys, it's Coach Chris from CrossFit 310. Welcome to the 310 QuickPod. I am here with Paolo Stuppa and the official hype man of CrossFit 310, Will Jones, on the floating mic.
Boom, it's your boy Will Jones. I am a floater.
Nice. Okay, so listen, here is what we're doing today with this QuickPod. We just finished up an event called the Crucible. We will introduce, there it is, bam, those shirts. We will introduce just a little bit about what it is, and then what we're going to do is we're going to tell our stories. We're going to have multiple editions of the QuickPod. Will and Jen are going to tell their story in another one, and we're going to collect. One of the things that has overwhelmed us so far is the stories that we're hearing from people about what happened to them. So let's tell people what was this event, Paolo?
It was an event that really the community took part in, and it really was to do something bigger than yourself. It's been a tough year, and really it's something to look back on and just think, that was one of the highlights. And for a lot of people, it was a sense of, I've done something and I've taken control of this thing that I never thought I was going to do or did. And it was just an amazing experience for a lot of people. And essentially the way that we broke it down was in 3 tracks. Over the course of 12 hours, you could do a half a marathon or a marathon. So you ran 1.1 or 1.2 miles every hour on the hour. And a lot of people did that, and we had a lot of firsts. Or if you did the 24-hour, that was a minimum of 50 miles. Number of people went 50, some people went 52. So that would be 2.2 miles every hour on the hour. And, in the end, it just ended up being just a great experience. It was tough.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Not everybody that did the 24-hour did 50 miles, though.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
So you just said it was a minimum.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a minimum. Like inside of the bubble of 24 hours, people were still.
That's right.
Picking the volume that they did.
I think. Will, you did the 24. There's some people did 24 to see if they could do 24. Right. So it's a long time when you get into it. So yeah. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Okay. So, let's start about, what I want to do with this recording. Like, it's called the Crucible. And what we have found out, and what's even just in a few days after having been done, is the Crucible, by even definition, is a very personal thing. There is something that comes out of this strife. We intentionally put ourselves inside of a time of strife where we had to do something we were uncertain about. We had to struggle through something, and it's very personal. And that's what's been so exciting, to hear people's personal experience. So I want to talk about your Crucible first. Can you describe, just give me a short overview, and then I'll ask a couple of specific questions. But how would you describe your Crucible experience?
One word: painful. I will say that I underestimated the effort. I really did, because I'm used to doing similar mileage and time, but under different circumstances. Mm-hmm. So I didn't train to the extent that I should have. I was putting in 4.5 miles a week. Which I quickly found wasn't working for me. So I'm used to doing events sore, miserable. You get a little moody. But this one was in pain for at least half of it, some serious pain. And that ended up being my Crucible moment right there.
Yeah. I think that is, and again, that's what happens. You are famous in one of our 310 podcasts that we did a long time ago. The podcast itself is titled, one of my favorite things that you've said, you requoted to me, is Murphy's Law is going to kick in at some point. And it did. It's so great. And, you're the guy that you're in long, enduring events. You do SEAL Fit. You do Go Ruck events. And yet you had a Crucible moment. You did 24 hours. You were up for 24 straight hours, and every hour, at the top of the hour, you went out and did 2.2
miles.
2.2 miles? Yeah. And for sure.
Yeah.
We all showed up here at CrossFit 310 at midnight. And you were not going to let too much language come out, because that's part of the thing that you have learned, right? You're just going to mentally stay strong. But I know how you move. I see you in classes, and I know how you move, and I knew you were in the Crucible already.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I was in it when I got here.
Yeah.
And, but, even for you, your Crucible began.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it. That's my story. Wait a second.
I'm trying to tee you up.
That's funny. So tell me, what was I'm going to ask for honesty. You're tough mentally, and you don't like to give too much power to the negative. I know you. It's good. But can you tell me what was the lowest moment during the 24 hours?
It was probably around 9 a.m. when I realized, boy, my knees are on fire.
Yeah.
And my muscles felt like they had just been twisted to the max. So, and then I realized, because time had already slowed down for us, right, that I had a lot more to go. And I was not used to being in that kind of pain, the kind of pain that, you get in pain and it goes away. So I realized then that, I was, there's going to be some long rounds.
Yeah. And we talked about it. I was driving by to go find Jason Gallagher. Yeah. I see them walking down the street. I had sent him a text about 10, 15 minutes earlier. I'm sending out texts. Hey, I want to come see you, want to encourage. And so I'd sent that out. I'm going to find Jason. I see him and Ryan walking down the street, and I just go, and I pull over, and I pull out my camera, and I'm like, is it okay if I interview you? And that's what you had talked about, your knee pain. You had not had knee pain like that before. It was a new thing, which that is a Crucible thing. You know what I mean? It's the new, and it's unexpected, and you had to deal with it, because everything else, you know how to handle lots of uncomfortable. You are a master at handling uncomfortable, but a new uncomfortable.
Yeah. And Ryan as well. Ryan's a tough guy, Marine.
Hoorah.
He's been through a lot, and interestingly enough, he had the same pain that I had, and we, at that point, we were zombie walking because we were both in pain, but we were.
They were, man. They were.
I was like, if you ever go down to Rosarito and you ride one of those horses, and you're like, you coming with us? He goes, no. He knows, that horse knows to go to there and to come back. And we've taken the same route so many times. I mean, we were literally doing it with our eyes closed.
Oh, that sounds rough.
It was, but it was really interesting. I had asked them, I was like, what's it mean that you guys are walking together, that you're doing it together? And it was significant. Is that right?
Oh, it was huge, and I will say this, for those people that did it on their own, I don't care what the mileage was. Well, I mean, that's a whole different race. I mean, that is, next level. So, I mean, for those of us that had a friend or had friends, and I'd meant to do the 12 hours with my family, but I was so deep in the pain cave that I would just look up and see them, and they walked by. I did the last hour with them, fortunately.
Yeah.
But I think everyone had their moments where they were sleep deprived, or they were in pain, or something was going on that they had to dig deep. And I think ultimately that's what this is about. The Crucible is, in SEAL Fit, they talk about what's your 20X, meaning whenever you think you're done, the philosophy is you've got 20 times more in the tank. And a lot of us, I won't give away your story or your story, or anyone else's. There's so many amazing stories of how everyone just dug deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and made it happen, right? And that's what was so amazing about this. And I've said to a lot of people, people said, "Well, that was hard." And I said, "Well, do you think you signed up for the St. Patty's 10K run?"
He goes, "It's not called the St. Patrick's Day 5K."
I said, if you sign up for, I said, look, if you sign up for the Crucible, I'm going to make sure you get the Crucible experience.
Yeah, man, that's great. Hey, tell me the greatest highlight. Can you think of the greatest moment for you?
There are so many. I mean, ultimately, if I had to wrap it up, is in hearing the story. First off, seeing all the achievements everyone was making along the way, because I got a lot of perspective there.
Yeah.
And then, hearing the stories after, in terms of, I did this, or people were sending their routes, and I almost quit, doing this. My buddy Tom, he just started working out with us, 5 weeks ago, never run more than, 2 miles. And at mile 41,
are you telling Tom's story right now?
I can't give it away. I got to give it to him.
Tom's got a great story. Don't tell.
I know. Just in case we don't get him. But there were so many of these stories where it was like I was ready to throw in the white towel, and for whatever reason you didn't, and it just went and it went and it went and went. So just being a part of it and just seeing, the goodness that came out of it. For so many people, for me was even greater than finishing.
Is it fair to say that the experiences you had after you were done has been the greatest thing? Like, I sent you videos that I had recorded of your wife and kids while, when you weren't there, you were going around the loop a couple of times, and hearing those stories and hearing them talk was amazing. Am I hearing that right from you?
Yeah, I think I deeply believe that when you do something like this, then you look in the mirror and you're looking at someone that's slightly different, definitely better, and that just is a reset for who you are and what you can do. Now you're looking at, that's drywall, I can go through it. Brick, it's going to take a little bit more. Whereas before you were like, I'm going to find a way around it.
Yeah, I can't go through it.
Right? So the thing about these events is it brings that out of you. And for me to see my entire family that finished it, I mean, that was phenomenal. They all did it. And it's great. I mean, I wish I could have been like my 8-year-old, and there are a lot of kids that do it. Some people that are a lot older that did it, right? Said, you know what? I did that. It's a good place to start from. And we, at the end of the day, it was hard, but we had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
It was an incredible thing. Your story. Here's actually what I want to do with this. We're coming up on 15. Well, we're coming up on 15 minutes in.
All right.
I want this to finish off of your story. We'll just stop and we'll record my story and we'll make it a second one. But I think this is good. I want to hear as much as we can from the man. You brought this idea to us. You asked Coach Jen and I, you pinned me in the hallway and you're like, "Hey, I got this thing that I'm doing. what do you think about making it a community event?" And it did. It became something, and lots of us, and I'm one of them, like, from a friendship point of view, and we'll talk about it later, like, you got the thing that you had wanted from me for a couple of years.
That's right.
What else inside of this? What did you see as your parting shot from your Crucible story? What do you want somebody out there to hear. Like we know that they're capable of more. We're going to be shouting that a lot. What's another thing? Something that comes to mind that I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about is, I'm stealing this from, a movie that you sent me about, Go Ruck. What's it called? The Standard?
The Selection.
The Selection.
The Selection, The Standard is the name of the movie. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And they said even in failure, in that one, even in failure, good comes out of it because you're changed and you might ask yourself something. So one of the things that I heard that you said to me when I was interviewing, oh no, this wasn't during an interview, this was just as we were walking around, for this one, you realized it wasn't even about how fast you ran, right? Or whatever it is. It was just doing the thing and doing what you could. Can you speak a little bit to, the idea of what the Crucible does and how it changes you even in failure, or what feels like that? Why is that? What is that thing after you've experienced so many events? How do you explain that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in our lives we're very used to being comfortable, and we're lucky to be comfortable. But I think ultimately, when you get comfortable being uncomfortable by doing these events, it really just cracks you open. And I think what's attractive about the physical is, I'm a guy, so I can speak from a guy's perspective. A lot of us are knuckleheads. So it takes the physical to really break you open so that you could tap into the emotional, you could tap into the spiritual, you can tap into those things converging. And that's what happens when you do these events that are really, bigger than you, right? And so you view things a lot differently. And that's good because we're really putting ourselves in a position we don't need to be. I mean, you guys tell me. I mean, throughout the night, how many times did you think, if I just stopped here, I'd be good, right? Or some people did, some people didn't. It was one of those things. I mean, your mind will try to get you back into that comfort zone. So I think ultimately it's about resetting, what your standard is, right? And you're right, failure is a big part of it. So it's a long-winded answer, but the guy that finished the Selection had failed it, I think, 2 times before that. He's in the movie. So what did he get from that? He learned a lot. He changed, and he kept evolving, and he kept getting after it. And I think that's the lesson in this Crucible or any other, right? Or being uncomfortable is we're taught that everything's easy. This is the way things are, and you're an entrepreneur. It's not, right? You're starting your own business. It's not. These things take time, and failure is part of the journey.
Absolutely.
Success is an output. Happiness is an output. Failure is an output, and the destination there's no such thing. It just keeps going, and I think that's what we get out of these things.
Yeah. Oh man, it is so good. Yeah, I appreciate that. Will Jones, do you have any question for him or anything that leads off of his story?
I mean, there's so much. there's just so much. Wow. I mean, mindset is a big key as we're talking about the movie, The Standard. He goes into it and he's like, it doesn't matter. I say I'm 100% positive that I'm gonna complete this. So, that's I'm holding myself to that. No matter what comes, like a 100% completion. Even, walking back and forth with the thing or doing the same loops in this event that we had, it's just like I'm always going to take that next step until I can't take that next step, and yeah, I mean, the physicality, we are knuckleheads, we'll go through that brick wall, and keep going until we can't no more, but yeah, just I guess, proving to ourselves that we could take on a challenge and do it regardless. And the big thing for me, take away from this with this whole Crucible, whereas some of us may have done it alone, but we were never alone. We had this whole community with us. It's like it didn't matter if I went off on this street and did my Crucible here. Like, I still had to come back to you guys, and I was gonna come back and be like, oh, I didn't complete it. We were all in this together, whether we were not physically in it together, but at the end of the day, it's like, boom, these are the fruits of my labor. I did what I said I was gonna do, and boom, there it is. So,
and if I could just add one thing, it was really interesting because the last 12 hours was in my neighborhood, and as we were walking around, and then my family's, we had the shirts, and we had a bunch of neighbors, all because we kept making the same loops. The first question is, what is it, and why would you do that? And by the second or third loop, we literally had them cheering us on. It was amazing. So it was like, they were feeding off of us, and we were feeding off of them, and they knew how many laps we had, and it was.
Yeah, that was magical. That was a lot of fun.
To your point, you're never really alone.
Yep.
And
it's inspiring.
Support. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, men. Paolo Stuppa, thanks for coming on and telling us your story. Dude, thank you for the idea. Thank you for the inspiration. And thank you for being able to articulate a lot of this stuff even before we got to feel it, buddy. Love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.